is the moment that we all have been waiting for. But before I introduce and welcome our next speaker, I would really want to share a very personal incident that happened with me 9, 10 months back. I was doing a morning run and I was listening to this podcast that was very new to me. And somebody, while I was running, there was another fellow runner, and he happened to listen to what I was listening to. And then he said, "Is this thing school?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Nice." And then he started running again. After some time, while I was stretching, there was another young boy and who listened to the same podcast and said, "Is it thing school?" I said, "Yes." And he smiled. And later on that particular day, I parked my car, and in the office building, I was listening to the same podcast. And in the office building, there was another neighbor entrepreneur who crossed, and he said, "Is this thing school?" And I was like, "What is up with it?" And the last time when I said yes, it was with a sense of pride. So it gives me immense pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who, from breaking down business case studies to breaking the internet with ideas, our next guest is on a mission to revolutionize how India learns. He's the co-founder and CEO of Think School, one of the India's fastest growing edtech platform, known for turning complex business lessons into viral storytelling and helping over 3 million subscribers learn and grow and lead. An engineer by education, an educator by passion, and a content creator with a purpose. Ganesh Prasad Sridharan has not only built a website but also a movement to experience moderate this fireside chat with Ganesh, I would like to call Rajat Poddar and Pradeep Toshiwal and Anish Toshiwal, the dynamic trio on the stage. Over to you guys, waiting to listen to you and the beautiful insights. Please give them a round of applause.
Thank you guys, thank you so much. Before we get started, I just wanted to thank all of you for supporting our content. Because every time somebody asks me why doesn't Think School get 10 million views, I often tell them that the people who are watching Think School are somebodies, and you guys are those somebodies. So thank you so much for supporting our work. Without you, we wouldn't exist. Thank you.
Welcome, Ganesh. It's an absolute honor to have you for the second time at 21 by 72 Surat Summit. And people like Nikhil Kamath have officially told that you're going to replace the media with Think School, and you're one of the favorite podcasters of the country now. So, how's your journey been? Right from starting from when you uploaded your first YouTube video, did you ever think that you would come to such a stature?
Not at all. कितने लोगों ने हमारा पुराना वीडियो देखा हुआ है guys with the white wall? Okay. So when we started our YouTube channel, the goal was very simple. We were not popular at all, and I was teaching how to tell better stories because I was a good storyteller. But the problem was that because we were not very well known in the market, nobody really came to us. I was popular in the college because of which I was able to get hold of the initial cohort. But after that, everything faded away because our competitors had huge banners. So we realized a very, very important business lesson over there, that the best products don't win in the market, the best known products win in the market. So if we can become popular and get hold of a community, that is when we'll be able to grow. So we built an online course, and that's when COVID hit. It was a nightmare. So we decided to give up our small space where I was teaching people physically. तो वहाँ पे 2 बच्चे थे by the way,
Pune, right?
फ्रॉम पुणे. वहाँ पे 2 बच्चे थे क्लासरूम में. उसमें से एक बच्चा, द कोर्स फीस वाज 5,000 रुपीस. और इंजीनियरिंग के बच्चे कितने हैं यहाँ पे बाय द वे? इंजीनियर्स, आई एम अज्यूमिंग वेरी फ्यू बिकॉज दिस इज यूजुअली फाइनेंस, राइट? इंजीनियरिंग के बच्चे ऐसे होते हैं ना गाइस, थोड़े से हरामी होते हैं. तो इंजीनियरिंग के बच्चे क्या करेंगे? 500 रुपये बचा लेंगे और हफ्ते के एंड में क्या कि एक बियर पिएंगे. सो दे वुड वैल्यू अ पाइंट ऑफ बियर more than the communication course, which can probably get them a much high paying job. And that is when during COVID we realized that YouTube is the only way to go, because YouTube is a platform that just compounds drastically. And that is when legendary creators emerged out of the Indian YouTube space. So we decided to give it a shot. And our goal was pretty clear. We wanted to build a case study channel for India in such a way. Because I used to refer to Harvard business case studies a lot. I was like, Harvard Business Review is not doing justice to Indian business case studies. Like, nobody's teaching us about the rise of Reliance. Like, today, if Iran-Israel war has broken out, nobody's talking about how the Iran-Israel war is going to affect the Indian market. So we decided to build a case study channel, which will be like a video version of Harvard Business Review, which can resonate with the Indian audience. But fortunately, by the grace of God, today we have 30% international audience. So 1.5 million people from abroad watch our case studies, because today India is the new rising star in the global market. So that is how Kingspool as an idea was born. And we never thought this channel will grow very fast, because हमको बहुत सारे लोगों ने बोला था कि 20 मिनट का ज्ञान सुनने के लिए YouTube पे कौन आएगा? I mean, why would anybody watch a business case study on YouTube? People would rather read Economic Times, right? We were like, yeah, fine, that's the only shot we've got, so let's give it a shot and see what happens. And again, by the grace of God, what happened was, for the first 3 months, nothing happened. In fact, जब 3,000 views आते थे, मेरे दोस्तों को फोन करके बोलता था, brother, today we've hit 3,000 views. तो समझ रहे कितनी बड़ी बात है? तो बोलता था, bro, ये तो बहुत crazy कर दिया तूने. But 3 महीने बाद कुछ तो सच में crazy हो गया. Our subscriber count started rising so fast that we started hitting 10,000 subscribers a day. And then we hit 100,000 subscribers in 10 days. और फिर तो भाई मेरा तो दिमाग खराब हो गया. मैंने बोला ये क्या हो रहा है? And you know, कभी कभी वो अनरियल चीजें होती है तुम्हारे लाइफ में. तो मेरा जो YouTube का जो सब्सक्राइबर काउंट था ना, वो ऐसे बढ़ रहा था जैसे कोई नॉर्मल सा काउंटर हो. I thought something was wrong with YouTube. And then we started hitting 100,000 subscribers every month to hit 1 million in a span of just 11 months. मुझे लगा रुक जाएगा. Then we started hitting 200,000 subscribers per month for the next 6 months to hit 2 million in 6 months. And then another 200,000 for the next 5 months to hit 3 million in about 23 months. That is how Kingspool became.
And now what's the total subscriber count?
Now it's about 4.5 million.
Wow, that's huge.
इतना इतना कुछ क्रेजी कर रहे हैं तो देखो समय समय की बात है. तो मैंने ज़्यादातर तो यहाँ पर lot of content creators out there. When they post the first video, what is that thing that keeps you going? Like you said, कि यार 3,000 views आ रहा है, crazy हो गया. To probably gaining thousands of subscribers each day, the journey would not have been very simple. I know a few people out there who have been speaking since the morning. I think they've been putting up content since the past 2 years. But still they've not been able to probably crack the code that you have done at Kingspool. What would you like to tell those creators? Like, what should they analyze probably? Or what should they think about so that they can do a step better each day?
The playbook is actually very, very simple, guys. You know, people think hitting 1 million subscribers is as complex as launching a rocket. It's not rocket science. It's actually very, very simple. You just have one thumb rule. If you're in the education space, आपको बस ये करना है कि जो भी आप YouTube वीडियो बना रहे हो, चाहे वो 5 मिनट का हो या 10 मिनट का हो, after the video ends, your user must have a call to action. कि कल सुबह उठ के, what should I do different? If you look at Kingspool's case studies, they serve a very high utility value for B school students because they're able to participate in the class better. When they go to group discussions, it keeps them updated with the current affairs. If you talk to UPSC students, they will tell you that they watch Kingspool videos because they want to get a deeper understanding of the news. So each piece of content has a very high utility value. If you talk to private equity investors, they want to understand what's happening in the startup space, but they don't want to study a lot of data. In fact, the people who've come to our podcast, Ritesh Agarwal watches Kingspool because he doesn't have the time to read through a lot of newspapers. So a quick 20-minute video will give him a good insight into what's happening in the market. Viraj Behan told me that every night, Viraj Behan is the founder of Viva. It's one of the largest sauce companies in the country. And he told me that he watches Kingspool during lunchtime. When I asked him why, he told me that it gives me a deeper understanding into different markets, which then helps me develop business strategies for my business. So guys, तरीका बहुत simple है. If you want to build $1 million business on YouTube in the education space, the one thing that you need to follow is that every video of yours must have a concrete call to action. In fact, we follow that in our podcast as well. Guys, whenever a YouTube channel is very small, we just started our Hindi channel right now. उसमें ना हमारे पास अभी कुछ 3 लाख subscribers हैं, and it was a baby channel about 3 months ago, and it had about 150K subscribers. That's it. We uploaded a 2 hour long podcast on a 150K subscriber channel. Usually the expectation is 10,000 20,000 views आ जाएंगे because 2 घंटे का podcast है, right? Guys, that podcast today stands at 1.6 lakh views.
Oh.
And it is not with a very, very popular guest like Nirmala ma'am or Gadkari sir. It is with my friend Ayush Vadhwa, who runs a company called Avadh Media. Now, the reason why that podcast did insanely well is because of the comments. The evidence lies in the comments. Go and look at the comments and they'll tell you, I've taken 20 pages of notes. Tomorrow I'm going to pitch to my clients better because the podcast was about the 1 crore freelance blueprint. मतलब podcast का गोल बहुत सिंपल है. ये 2 घंटे का podcast देख के जब आप वापस अपने मार्केट में जाओगे as a freelancer, you will have the blueprint to make 1 crore rupees per year. And when the podcast delivers on that title, and when people have call to actions on how to pitch to clients better, how to service clients better, how to write cold emails, those actionable insights turn the podcast into a very valuable piece of content, and then that leads to LinkedIn posts. Every single day I see LinkedIn posts saying that this is the podcast of the week that you need to watch. If you're a freelancer, this is the best masterclass that you can watch. So this utility value is what turns even a 2 hour long conversation into an insanely valuable piece of content for people in such a way that it generates very high viewership. So call to action, that's it. Don't think about anything else.
So, small rapid question to this: value versus consistency. When the creator is small and when the creator is big. I think 150K subscribers is a decently big content creator. Somebody who is at say 1500 subscribers. Consistency is important, or still value creation would hold more priority over it.
So earlier in YouTube, consistency was very, very important because YouTube as a platform used to promote consistency. If you uploaded every week, YouTube would promote you more. But now it is completely driven by value. There is a creator, I'm forgetting the name of this creator. This guy uploads like one video a month. And in the very first video itself, he got 1 million views and he scaled to 30,000 subscribers. So it eventually comes down to value because think about what YouTube wants. YouTube wants more watch time, which means people need to watch the content more. When will people watch the content more? When it's valuable. Either it should be extremely valuable or it should be extremely entertaining, which is why, in fact, the reason why Think School works, and this is my thesis, I could be completely wrong, it is because we try to produce our case studies Netflix style. मतलब अगर इलॉन और डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प का अगर आपने केस स्टडी देखा, आई डोंट नो हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू हैव सीन दिस, हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू हैव सीन दैट केस स्टडी गाइस? मतलब बॉम्ब फट रहे हैं, एकदम कंट्रोवर्शियल चीजें बातें हो रही है, तो आपको देख के लगेगा कि यार इसमें तो बहुत ड्रामा है. But behind that drama is an insight which gives people a call to action, which gives them utility value. In fact, हम चाहते हैं कि हमारे सब्सक्राइबर्स हमारे वीडियो को होम थिएटर पर देखें, जिसमें उनको लगे कि वाओ आज तो हमने कोई नेटफ्लिक्स डॉक्यूमेंट्री देख लिया है, right? So that is the goal. If you can make a perfect blend of education and entertainment, that's the best. But a lot of people might not be able to make it Netflix style, so focus on education and value. If that's done, it's good to go.
I think Ganesh, talking about YouTube, there are a lot of creators out here who focus on Instagram first. But talking about YouTube, how does the monetization model of YouTube actually work? Because there are a lot of creators who want to monetize their content but are unable to.
So YouTube monetization is not the monetization that you must look for because YouTube doesn't pay Indian creators as high as the American creators. It's measured by using something called CPM. Okay. And if somebody wants to grow on YouTube, keep this in mind. This is very, very important. It doesn't really matter how many views you get. What matters is who are your viewers. एक छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल देता हूँ. मान लो मैं हिंदी में कंटेंट बनाता हूँ. हिंदी का जो टैम है, टोटल एड्रेसेबल मार्केट है इंडिया में, that's more than 500 million, right? So it could be anybody from a watchman to a student in Bihar to a legendary businessman who doesn't watch English content. But the moment you speak in English, your TAM reduces from 500 million to less than 50 million. एक filter लग गया. Then you speak about finance, there is a very high chance that somebody in the investment banking space, somebody in the finance space will watch your content, and that person is more likely to be rich. Now, if this person is rich, YouTube identifies this subset. When this subset watches your content, YouTube sells those ad slots to a particular bunch of companies who are willing to pay more for this high net worth audience. So if you're making content in the finance space, it by default goes to people who have a very high net worth. As a result, the ad slots that get sold on your channel are at very high rates to companies who find it extremely valuable, like let's say Cred or HDFC, because of which a finance creator is more likely to make way more money for the same 1 million views as compared to a comedy content creator. That is how YouTube monetization works. Now, the reason why you should not bank on YouTube monetization is because if you're capable of generating 1 million views, you will always find a sponsor who will pay you way more as compared to your YouTube monetization. So don't depend on it. If you depend on it, set your expectation states. It is not based on your viewership, it is based on who is viewing your content. So if you apply these two filters, you will know what to do.
Interesting.
So I think school has a lot of filters, if I have to talk about that. And you are dealing in a very particularly niche audience, and yet you have made it so big. I think, if I'm not wrong, I was reading something wherein I figured out ki you have a particular type wherein you mentioned that the traditional schooling, the way it is going currently, is a lot different, and it might not be as important as it is catered to be. I think, I don't know if my parents are here, मेरा घर पे ये बहुत झगड़ा होता है. I have this feeling that मेरे को मेरे बच्चे को स्कूल नहीं भेजना है. My wife, my parents, all of them are like, तू पागल हो गया है, कुछ नहीं होता. I feel the education that we are providing today, अगर मैं होम स्कूलिंग दूँ, लाइफ स्किल्स के लेसन्स दूँ, कम्युनिटी इवेंट्स में भेजूँ, बच्चा शायद can still manage. It's not necessary to send him to a traditional school. Is the school of thought that I come from, or I have started believing into. So do you have something on that? Because I think you have posted some type of content on that front.
Yeah. So I'm not against schools, I'm against colleges. And I don't believe in the traditional education system because how many of you watched Shawshank Redemption, guys? Shawshank Redemption? Okay. जिन्होंने नहीं देखा उनको मैं क्विक कॉन्टेक्स्ट दे देता हूँ. Shawshank Redemption, a movie where a guy gets convicted, he's put in jail, and he observes the pattern of the prison. And there he observes that पहले एक हफ्ते में ना सब लोग बहुत रोते हैं. दूसरे एक हफ्ते में ना लोग थोड़ा सा रेजिस्ट करने लग जाते हैं. तीसरे चौथे हफ्ते तक ना लोग यूज्ड टू हो जाते हैं. ठीक है. उसके बाद अगर कोई एस्केप करने की कोशिश करता है तो जो जेलर डंडा मारता है. इंडिया की इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेजेस एग्जैक्टली वैसे हैं. अगर आप कुछ भी एक्स्ट्रा करने जाओ तो आपको डंडा तो पड़ना ही है. डंडा कभी 75% अटेंडेंस के नाम पे पड़ेगा या फिर प्रोफेसर के ईगो के नाम पे पड़ेगा. राइट. विच इज़ वाई आई थिंक ट्रेडिशनल एजुकेशन सिस्टम इज द वर्स्ट इन इंडिया. मैं ये नहीं बोलूँगा नॉट बैड बिकॉज आई एम नॉट डिप्लोमेटिक. इज द वर्स्ट. ओके. We cannot become a $30 trillion economy with the education system that we have over here. And if people feel sad about it, you should go and see what's happening abroad, and you will see highly competitive people doing brilliant stuff even before they fall out of college. Which is why I have deep respect for schools like Masters Union, Scalar School of Business and MESA, because they are redefining education in India. Having said that, when it comes to schools and colleges, मुझे लगता है चाहे कॉलेज कितना भी बेकार हो, कॉलेज तो जाना चाहिए. दो रीजन की वजह से. पहले है बकचोदी. ओके. अगर तुम मस्ती कर रहे हो लाइफ में तो तुम जिंदा हो. $1 बिलियन कंपनी बना के कुछ नहीं होना है. ठीक है. मस्ती जब तक है तब तक लाइफ है. ठीक है. फर्स्ट रीजन. सेकेंड रीजन इज अ लिटिल फ्रॉम द फाउंडर्स परस्पेक्टिव. कॉलेज टीचेस यू हाउ टू गेज पीपल. Whenever I speak to founders who've built companies beyond $10 million, you know what they tell me, guys? All problems are HR problems. Do you understand what that means? All problems are HR problems, which means अगर आपको एक लिमिट के आगे प्रॉब्लम आइडेंटिफाई करना है आपकी कंपनी में, वो सिर्फ लोगों को रख के ही है. और ये कॉलेज में इसलिए सीखने को मिलता है क्योंकि कॉलेज में सब लोगों ने उस एक बंदे से इंटरेक्ट किया होगा जो स्टार्टिंग में तो बहुत अच्छा लगा बट बाद में हरामी निकला. Right, guys? Everybody resonates? I hope you guys are not that harami. Anyways, similarly, you must have interacted with somebody who's brutally honest. Starting में लगता रहेगा कि भाई ये इतना ऑफेंसिव चीज़ें बात क्यों करता है. बाद में लगेगा कि ऐसे लोगों की ज़रूरत है हमें ज़िंदगी में जो कि हमें सच बताए. Right? This ability to gauge people is something that you can learn only in college. क्योंकि कॉलेज में आपको हर कैटेगरी के लोग मिलेंगे. धोखेबाज मिलेंगे, बकचोद दोस्त मिलेगा जो इनकॉम्पिटेंट है लेकिन आपके साथ हमेशा खड़ा रहेगा. दूसरा बच्चा रहेगा जो कॉम्पिटेंट रहेगा लेकिन एक नंबर का चंट रहेगा. right? This ability to gauge people is very important because when you're building a company, what are you doing? You're essentially gathering a bunch of people, you're motivating them towards a vision, and you're trying to achieve that vision with those people. But if you're not able to identify, अगर मुझे ये पता नहीं कि रचित हरामी है कि नहीं, मैं इसके बाद कंपनी कैसे बना लूँ? Right? Even right now, while you're having this conversation with everybody, what are you doing? You're trying to gauge if I can trust Rachit, if I can trust the person in front of me. And this ability to gauge people is something that you learn only and only in college. And last and most importantly, guys, कॉलेज में जो दोस्त बनते हैं वो कहीं नहीं बनते. तुम $1 billion कंपनी बना लोगे मैनहट्टन के टॉप फ्लोर में अकेले दारू पी के क्या करोगे? राइट? उससे बेटर ये है कि तुम टपरी पे जाके भेलपुरी खाओ लेकिन 4 दोस्तों के साथ खाओ. Right? All the boys will relate over here. All the boys need is not a fancy vacation. We just need 3 more boys to sit down with us and have chai. Right? Guys? Woo! So, that is
Only
what
the
college
guys
can
are
do.
clapping on this.
Yeah, Ajay.
I think Ganesh, talking about marketing mediums, traditionally we've seen billboards, then a lot of theater ads and so many other mediums. But now brands are adapting new trends and new types of marketing techniques. So can you talk about how B2B brands are adapting new marketing trends and how B2C brands are sort of adapting new marketing trends?
Okay. So, Gary, how many of you follow Gary Vee over here, guys?
I've heard him live
Gary
in
Vee?
London.
Okay.
once.
You should just read this book called Crush It. Okay. In Crush It, Gary Vee talks about a very stark difference between old media and new media in terms of marketing. Old media is not metric based. As in, if I put out a billboard over here, I don't know which 50,000 people are seeing it. But if I run an Instagram ad and I choose to show it to 50,000 people, I have the ability to understand who those 50,000 people are and what they do with that content. Like if I put out 10 billboards to sell my property, I don't know because of which billboard I got maximum calls. But that's something that's very easily understandable if you're running performance ads. So performance ads gives you metric and understanding of the customer, which can eventually help you fine tune your marketing ad spend in such a way that you can generate maximum returns with, I would say, optimized spend. That is one way in which there's a drastic shift that's happening, and right now it's pretty basic. I'm sure everybody knows about it. The, the second method in which brands are using this is just by creating content at the fastest pace possible. Why? Because the more content you make, the more top of the marketing you have. In fact, I'll talk about ThinkSchool as a brand. Guys, the last time I was here, we were crushing it on YouTube and we were getting about 7 to 10 million views per month. Okay? Then we went bullish on Instagram. And today, you know how many views ThinkSchool gets per month? Take a guess. एक साल 10 million views से कितना million views गए रहेंगे हम? Any guesses? Sorry? 100. Any other guess? Take a wild guess. 30. Guys, we've scaled to 70 million views on just Instagram. ठीक है? YouTube short और main YouTube channel को अगर मैं मिला लूँ तो it gets us 100 million views. On top of that, you must have seen random pages post our podcast content, right? From whatever we could measure, that generates another 10 to 20 million views. So it's close to 100 to 120 million views. और जितने भी सारे लोगों को मैं मिलता हूँ ना, वो बोलते हैं कि मैंने आपका पॉडकास्ट देखा, मुझे बहुत मजा आया. तो मैंने बोला कौन सा पॉडकास्ट देखा? वो रील में देखा था मैंने. तो मैंने बोला कि ब्रो बट रील में तो पॉडकास्ट कैसे देखेगा तूने तो बस एक रील देखा है मेरा. तो what I'm trying to say is discoverability happens through reels, top of the mind happens through reels, but eventually brand is built through long form content. Now, what a lot of brands are doing is create a lot of Instagram content so that they can stay on top of the mind of the customer, so that if at all the customer chooses to buy a particular product, they would rather choose that particular brand. An example of the same would be Mokabara. Mokabara does a lot of creator collaborations because of which Mokabara is always on top of the mind. There must be 100 other brands which might be doing something very similar to Mokabara. But all that matters is when you choose to buy a luggage and you go to Amazon, what name do you type? And if it's Mokabara, Mokabara is one. Like I said, the best brands don't win in the market. The best known brands win in the market. And how do you get known? By being top of the mind. How do you be top of the mind? By going bullish on Instagram. But how do you build a brand and educational value-based brand? That's YouTube. So depending on whichever category you fall into, you can...
Then you follow ThinkSchool.
Yeah, you can follow ThinkSchool.
So, from a journey to the first video, wherein I don't think a lot of people were watching you probably. And today, whenever you put up any piece of content, I think there are tons of memes that flows out as well. And recently, there have been certain cases wherein people might not take that memes that well. So there's both sides of it. So any specific thing that you'd like to say for that?
पहले मीम का स्टोरी बोलता हूँ मैं, बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी है. पहला मीम हमारा फ्लोट हुआ था जब हमने पॉडकास्ट किया था नितिन गडकरी सर के साथ. तो जैसे ही हमने किसी बीजेपी के नेता के साथ पॉडकास्ट किया, इंस्टाग्राम फ्लडेड विद मीम्स. देन वी सेड ओ शिट, लोग तो हमें राइट विंग बोल रहे हैं. लाइक ओके. देन वी डिड अ पॉडकास्ट विद शशि थरूर. देन a lot of BJP pages started posting memes on us. So I'm like, bro, I was on your side on the last podcast, right? Then we did a podcast with Arvind Kejriwal. Guess what happened? Guess what happened, guys? Every other party that I could possibly think of was making memes on me. तो मैं बोला कि भाई तुम किसकी साइड में हो, तो डिसाइड तो कर लो. तो डू यू वांट अ न्यूट्रल पर्सन और नॉट? तो समहाउ सोशल मीडिया की वजह से ना, एक तो दो ही ऑप्शंस है आपके पास. कुछ गिने चुने लोग, होपफुली मैनी ऑफ यू आर हियर, वो आपको गाली इसलिए दें क्योंकि उनको पता है कि आपने निर्मला सीतारामन भी किया है, शशि थरूर भी किया है, मिलिंद देवरा भी किया है और अरविंद केजरीवाल भी किया है. इंस्टाग्राम को क्या दिखता है? कुछ लोग मुझे गाली दे रहे हैं क्योंकि मैं राइट विंग हूँ, कुछ लोग मुझे गाली दे रहे हैं क्योंकि मैं लेफ्ट विंग हूँ, कुछ लोग मुझे गाली दे रहे हैं क्योंकि मैंने बस पॉलिटिकल पॉडकास्ट कर लिए. तो एक सेट ऑफ ऑडियंस है जहाँ पे सब लोग मुझे गाली दे रहे हैं, और एक सेट ऑफ ऑडियंस है जो होपफुली सेंसिबल है, जिसने सारा सब कुछ देखा है, वो मुझे गाली नहीं देते. तो मेरे पास ऑप्शन क्या बचता है? मेरे पास ऑप्शन बस ये बचता है कि आई जस्ट स्टिक टू माई मिशन. एंड आई ऑलवेज से दैट थिंक स्कूल्स मिशन इज वेरी लाउड एंड क्लियर. इट इज टू पुट अ डेंट इन द इंडियन एजुकेशन सिस्टम. एंड आई कैनॉट डू दैट by opting for convenience, right? You get what I'm saying, guys? If we also choose to be convenient, फिर तो भाई तुम ओल्ड मीडिया ही देख लो, ठीक है? नेशन wants to know, वही देख लो. So if we have to break our barriers, we have to do uncomfortable things and uncomfortable themes. If uncomfortable things mean talking to everybody, we will do that. A. B, it gives us such a beautiful opportunity to put out such great insights for entrepreneurs. In fact, when I met Arvind sir, I told him the same thing, that I'm not here to discuss politics. I'm here to discuss governance. Because politics में ना इसने बोला, उसने बोला, ये बोला, वो बोला, वही चलता रहता है. But when it comes to governance, it affects the business landscape of India to such a large extent that it is unimaginable, guys. You know, a lot of people think Think School produces political content and business content. No. Politics is the mother of all business case studies. You know why? Because guys, in the market, no matter whether you are Ambani or a small vendor, you know who's the godfather? You know who's the godfather in the market? It is and it will always be the government. If you can't understand the government, you can't understand business. So if we are getting the opportunity to talk to these politicians and understand governance, and if that is producing value for millions of people, we will do that even if it means uncomfortable. Because you just need to be liked by a million people to be a sensible YouTuber. So I'm happy with that.
Lovely, lovely.
I think coming to my last question before we open up the floor for questions from the audience, I think, we recently saw Vijay Mallya coming on a podcast and he exposing the traditional media. So how would you define the traditional media versus a new age media? How is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Is it getting more authenticated?
ये तो आपने controversial question पूछ लिया भाई. I think Raj has pushed the envelope in terms of what is possible. And we will keep doing better and better work to top it up. If Raj has pushed the threshold in terms of access, he might not have asked the toughest questions anybody would have imagined, but we will push the fabric further by asking tougher questions, because now at least it is out there in the media that, you know what, a podcaster needs to be taken more seriously. It got about 2.4 crore views. Now again, I disagree with Raj on a lot of levels, including that podcast as well, where I believe there could have been a lot more questions which could have been tougher. But as a fellow creator, I'm extremely happy because he's pushed the threshold, and it is our job to carry that baton forward. Like Ranveer did it with podcast. Again, Ranveer is like my elder brother, and I have a lot of disagreements with Ranveer. But had Ranveer not taken the initiative of starting a podcast when podcast was not cool back in 2017, podcast as a concept in India wouldn't have been so big, guys. You get what I'm saying? Disagreement है, definitely है. But क्या उन्होंने अच्छा काम किया है? 100% care because they've pushed the fabric. What is our job? To make it even better. When we get another opportunity to meet somebody like a Vijay Mallya, we will ask tougher questions. Nobody can do it in the best possible way at the first attempt, right? अगर फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट में अच्छा अटेम्प्ट कर देते तो सब लोग क्रेजी बोल देते बट कोई बात नहीं in this world you can't please everybody but Raj has done a good job by setting that benchmark and we will keep topping it up. So that's what I believe. As far as old media is concerned, I have no comments. How many of you watch old media and they are debates? It's not debates, it's a shouting competition कि कौन सबसे ज़्यादा जोर से चिल्ला सकता है. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, it's not even worth talking about. So, yeah, I mean, new age media is here and we will do our best to do justice to the benchmarks that the world sets for us.
Amazing.
So I think the follow-up session after this by Azhar is also a big light on the current media trends and what has been there in the past. Summarizing, Ganesh, what would you want these people when they go out of the room and tell those who are not here today? How do you want this session to be remembered by all of these people? What should they tell the people who are not here?
Bro, I have no idea.
One key takeaway for everyone, one advice or any takeaway that you would suggest for aspiring content creators, aspiring entrepreneurs.
Aspiring content creators have to understand one thing, guys. Don't look at yourself as creators. Think of yourself as entrepreneurs. A lot of people ask us, a lot of people ask me, do I burn out? First of all, it's not me, it's Think School. Think School is an organization. We don't burn out. Creators might burn out, entrepreneurs never burn out. A media company will never burn out. So the moment you think of yourself as an entrepreneur, as an organization, these human troubles will go away because you build systems and processes to cope up with your human weaknesses, number one. Number two, the government is the godfather in the market, no matter whether you are big or small. Number three, as far as old and new media is concerned, we will keep pushing the threshold. And I want this day to be remembered as a day where Think School promises to keep on pushing that threshold. And last and most importantly, if you're watching Think School, I am extremely grateful for your love and support, guys. So thank you so much.
Thank
You have
you.
a huge fan following, Ganesh, in
I
Surat.
think we'll take the questions from the audience now. If you can help Khushi.
Hello, Ganesh.
Bro, where are you? Can you please raise your hands? Yes, tell me.
Myself, CA Pratham Magajwala. I have been the huge fan of Think School and you, that content you put. And I am the huge fan of the animation styles and the content, the icons, and that whole video editing you do. Now, the question is, how can we bring that type of education to the base level, to the ground school levels, and to the college education or the commerce education?
College education है एक बहुत interesting anecdote है मेरे पास. We have a new joinee in our company. Her name is Tanisha. And she told me something very interesting. She told me that her professor used to use Think School's case studies to play it on the slideshow. And then they would take that case study further and then discuss and debate about it. Surprisingly, a lot of IIMs have done it recently. IIT Bombay played one of our case studies. So our job is to just put out the best content possible. And those content pieces can then be used by the professors to then act as study materials for the students who are engaging with the professor. So that is all, bro. I don't think we are capable of doing it at the scale at which you're imagining. But our job is to just put out great materials. And it's again up to the people to use it the right way so that they can empower more people. University of Sydney, IIT Bombay, IIM Bangalore, and this new college that I just told you about, all of them use it. So I'm not capable of getting into IIM Bangalore and teach because I don't have that kind of qualifications. But I can make the best case studies which can then be used as study materials. So if there are professors out there, I would just encourage them to use all of our content. And because we also put out extra study materials in the description, because हम खुद को business school समझते हैं. हम ये समझते हैं कि जो सबसे sincere बच्चा है हमारा, वो वीडियो एंड तक देखेगा और नीचे देखेगा स्टडी मटेरियल क्या रखा हुआ है. So we give out all the learning materials. If people can use it, then I think we will be empowering more people than just Think School as a YouTube channel. That's all, bro.
Thank you, Ganesh.
A regular listener of your podcast. Last podcast I heard was of Kishore Biani. So I saw that he was dodging the questions. So what is your research looks like before getting such huge level of guest at your podcast?
So I actually told Kishore sir this problem. He was not dodging the questions. To him, it looked like basic.
Yeah, maybe.
So he was just underplaying himself, and we get a lot of founders who often underplay themselves. Like they're geniuses who've understood the market, but जब इंसान 30 साल retail में बिता देता है ना, तो हमारे लिए जो crazy insight है, उनके लिए वो बहुत basic है. So they're like, yeah, I mean, this is what happened. In fact, if you look at Nikhil Kamat's podcast, he behaved the same way. Yeah, India 1, India 2, India 3. Bloom Ventures then publishes that every single year. Entrepreneurs use that to study the Indian market. We understood that to understand हमने हिंदी content में क्या बनाना चाहिए, English content में क्या बनाना चाहिए. So these people often put out blueprints and playbook very casually, and it's upon us to catch those playbooks and make something good out of it. As far as our research for the podcast is concerned, we practically do a business case study on the guest who's coming to our podcast. For example, we recently had Mohit from Minimalist. Standard thumb rule is do a case study on Minimalist and try and see if you can go deeper after establishing the case study through the podcast. For example, when we start the podcast with Mohit, we would ask them, how did you start? What was the gap in the market? Back in 2020, skincare was not that big of a deal. During that time, how did you create awareness? Awareness requires a lot of money, so how did you manage your marketing spend? There were a lot of skincare brands back then. There are a lot of skincare brands even today. How do you differentiate yourself? And then we slowly go deeper into the unit economics, which we couldn't find in the case study. So step number 1, do a complete case study, think school style. Step number 2, find where all can we go deeper, do that. And lastly, we often have the founder's perspective section, where we ask them questions very specific to organization. Because guys, a lot of us know how to do business, but organization building is something that's something that you'll have to keep on learning all the time. Because you might go from 10 to 100 crores and the challenges are completely different. From 100 to 1,000, challenges are completely different. So we have that section in our podcast where we just ask them for wisdom, which can then help entrepreneurs build their own business and help them build better organizations. So 3-step process. Step number 1, think school case study. Step number 2, identify gaps in our case study and go deeper. And step number 3 would be to look for founder wisdom. That's our methodology.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hi Ganesh. Hi,
Hi.
Mayor this side. So first of all, I think you have cracked down the content creation game very amazingly. Me being an aspiring content creator as well, I want to understand how can we stand out in a very saturated niche. So I create content around finance, and I think I'm not able to stand out. Like although I have followers and stuff, but I am not able to stand out, and I don't feel satisfied कि हाँ मतलब कुछ किया है. So what is your take on this?
I agree. Finance niche is extremely saturated. Do you produce content on Instagram or YouTube?
I'm currently focusing more on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you name 10 good creators in the finance niche on YouTube?
Yeah, Anushka, Neha, and Twinkle.
Anushka is Instagram first.
Yeah.
I'm talking about YouTube only.
Actually, I'm not currently focused much on.
I'm telling you, even if I ask the question over here, you won't be able to name 10 YouTube creators.
Yeah.
You will probably name Rachna ma'am
Yeah.
and 3-4 other creators.
Yeah.
Now that is a big white space. Like when it comes to IPO review, tell me the DRHP paper is out there. It's a 200-300 page document. But how many creators actually go deep into that document to help people understand the market? They don't. Number 2, economics is a niche which is unexplored. How many people are teaching economics? Very few. But economics is very, very interesting. You can take audience through a journey that is unimaginable, where they'll not just understand India, they'll also understand their own economics. And more importantly, once you start to get into the blue ocean, as in niches and subjects where you have very less competition, there if you get the eyeballs and then teach them what you want to teach them, it will make way more sense. For example, if I had chosen communication as the niche, कितना ही बोल दूंगा मैं तुमको कम्युनिकेशन के बारे में, स्टेज में जाके ये 3 रूल फॉलो करो, इंटरव्यू में जाके ये 3 रूल फॉलो करो, कब तक बताता रहूंगा 3 थिंग्स? नहीं चलेगा. सो वी चोज अ बिग niche. Business, geopolitics, economics, very big target addressable market. Everybody's interested in it. And the people who are interested in business will also require communication masterclass. As a result, we got hold of the right audience and then we pitched them our product. So, blue ocean for us was economics, geopolitics, and business, because back then very few people were producing that content. And when you speak about standing out, in fact, today there are a lot of business creators, and I love the fact that there are so many creators out there because it eventually increases the pie of awareness. The way we stand out is in 2 ways. Number 1, high utility value, like I just said earlier. And number two would be to make your boring content extremely interesting, Netflix style. The beauty is you can do that with economics because economics is extremely boring. You can make it interesting. Once you get those eyeballs, you can actually have a section in your YouTube where you can put out personal finance content. Although I believe personal finance is saturated. And then you can extend your niche further on the basis of the audience response.
So I agree with that because I also feel कि geopolitical content में girls तो बहुत ही कम है on YouTube, so it's a gap. So yeah, definitely we can explore that as well.
देखो गर्ल्स का नहीं होना गैप नहीं है
अच्छा.
जियोपॉलिटिकल कंटेंट नहीं होना गैप है
Yeah.
right because when it comes to a podcast in the women's section you've got very less
Very less, yeah.
and there the factor is relatability not knowledge when it comes to knowledge it doesn't really matter whether you're a man or a woman all that matters is the kind of content that you put out so geopolitics as a niche economics as a niche is quite unexplored on YouTube. And if you go deeper into it, it will help you extend your pie of finance to economics, geopolitics, and further. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
On YouTube, not on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah,
Because
that's
Instagram, always remember, Instagram, YouTube is searchable, guys. अगर मुझे अपने टैक्सेस को प्लान करना है तो मैं इंस्टाग्राम पे सर्च करूंगा तो 50 चीज़ें आएंगी उसमें से एक चीज़ देखूंगा उसमें 90 सेकंड का मुझे कोई कंटेंट दिखेगा उसमें यूटिलिटी वैल्यू का होना बहुत पॉसिबिलिटी बहुत कम है बिकॉज थिंक अबाउट नॉलेज व्हेन आई इम्पार्ट नॉलेज I need three very important things. Context of the knowledge, nuances, small nuances, especially in finance.
Yeah.
कि आपके लिए tax applicable है कि नहीं है. And third and most importantly, I require a step-by-step guide, which is not possible when it comes to Instagram. But on YouTube, you have the liberty to speak about it for 20 minutes, for 30 minutes. IPO review cannot be put out in 90 seconds. You can use 30 minutes and explain that in the most amazing way. And even if this somebody is not investing in an IPO, they'll at least go back with a deeper understanding of the market. So it's a win-win at all levels. So on YouTube, especially, finance content can blow up if you extend the pie beyond finance to economics, geopolitics, and further.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot. It was very helpful.
Thank you. Who's going next, guys?
Hello, sir, on the left here.
Yeah, tell me, ma'am.
So I just wanted to ask how your one advice to a person who wants to stand out from this, how to stand out from the digital cluttered world that we have now. One advice to anyone who wants to stand out from this.
Like I said right now, if you're in the education space, make high utility value content. That's it. You will stand out by default.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Guys, I don't know who has the mic, so.
Hello, sir.
Yes, bro. Tell me.
Sir, I watched your video from 1 year and so. Sir, I have a question. If you were 16, like I am 16 studying in 11th right now, commerce in Surat, DPS Surat. If you were 16 right now, what skill would you like to master?
Guys, there are only 3 skills. और ये मैं कॉलेज से बोलते हैं ठीक है और अभी लोग मुझे थोड़ा सीरियसली लेते हैं तो आई वुड लाइक टू टेक द अपॉर्चुनिटी टू पुट दैट आउट देयर आर ओनली 3 skills which will help you stand out regardless of which tech comes in. Okay? Please take a note. Number 1, people skills. जैसा मैंने बोला कॉलेज जाओ if you can understand if somebody is trustworthy or not, that's a super skill. If you can understand कि ये बंदा बोलता नहीं है बट करता बहुत बढ़िया है, you will never undercut that person or you'll never ignore that person. That's talent acquisition. Steve Jobs said this, that beyond a certain point, the most important job of a CEO is to be a great talent scout. Okay? People skills, people management, very, very important. How to cultivate that? Very simple. Go and organize events. Like this event, I'm sure the volunteers who worked for this event, they've acquired much better people skills than the people who are actually sitting in the classroom.
We say it's a crash MBA.
Yeah, it's insane, guys. You know, I organized a TEDx event in my college, and bro, I'm telling you, it gave me the confidence to lead an organization because for the first time I realized what it is like to have 40 people listen to you and the kind of responsibility that you have when you have 40 people respecting your word, right? So people skills very important. How to cultivate that? Event management. If you're out from college, go and do service at an NGO and participate in their projects and you will understand 2 things, the value of compassion and number 2, people skills. The second skill that is absolutely important is project management. Every single founder, entrepreneur sitting over here will resonate with me that the nation needs better project managers. Okay? Now, what do I mean by a great project manager? A person who can understand the objective of the project. This is what Anshuman from Scalar told me yesterday, by the way. If you can understand the objective of the organization, break it down into goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, break the goal down into a particular project, and that project, once that gets divided into certain processes, P1, P2, P3, when those processes get broken down into tasks, T1, T2, T3, and then you decide which task needs to be delegated to which person, the first layer of project management is done. कि objective समझ में आ गया organization का, goal समझ में आ गया, project उठा लिया, task processes में divide किया, task में divide किया, इंसान को delegate किया. Number one, delegation by itself is a different subject altogether, by the way. Then you come to the second layer. Once the project is being executed, the project manager needs to understand metrics so well that they should learn to panic even before panic is necessary. All the founders over here will resonate what I'm saying. Project दे दिया एक बंदे को, 1 साल का project है, तो वो 9th month में panic करेगा. 9th month में panic नहीं करना है. 3rd month का अगर deadline match नहीं हुआ है, तो panic needs to happen before panic is necessary. And I can bet on it that if I give a chance to all the entrepreneurs to speak, more than 50% of them will tell us that if they had 10 more project managers, they can double the scale of their organization. And then comes the third part, which is delivery, quality check, and performance reviews. After delivering the project, can you review your project, give critical feedback to all your team members, and then when you execute the next project, have you become a better project manager? ये skill ना भाई बहुत ही ज़्यादा rare है, right? Founders over here, entrepreneurs over here, do you agree? If I give you 10 more project managers, would your life be easier? Give me a yes. The third skill and perhaps the most important skill of all is communication. अगर मुझे अपनी टीम को विजन समझाना है तो मुझे ही समझाना पड़ेगा. I can't expect somebody with fancy English to teach them that. If I have to give critical feedback, अगर मुझे तुझे बोलना है कि तूने बहुत बुरा काम किया है, without hurting you, that's a skill, and that requires insane communication skills. So if you can cultivate these 3 skills, and the ability to speak on stage is extremely useful because this has a multiplier effect, right? If I'm on stage and I sell the idea, do you realize it's insane? If I do it on screen, it can happen to 1 million people. It's one of the most insane multiplier skills that you can cultivate. So 3 skills: project management, people management, and communication skills. When you complete this triad, you become a super asset to any company, any country, bro. That's the takeaway. And the best part is, it doesn't really matter which domain you are in. If you have these skills, you will stand out. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay, thank you. Do we take one more question?
Yeah, so hi, Ganesh.
Yeah.
I'm the founder of Human Design Academy, and you are a fellow founder, and you are teaching skills to young entrepreneurs and students. So, as a one fellow entrepreneur who is in education, trying to change education system, what would you advise to a fellow entrepreneur to add in their curriculum so that they can create superhumans for 2030? As you know that AI is going vastly, and what I can teach to the people of 11th and 12th standard and early college goers as a skill, core skill in my curriculum so that they, stay ahead of the curve.
There's a skill called design thinking. How many of you have heard about it, guys? How many of you have heard about it? For those who don't know, design thinking is your ability to study a cohort of customers, derive insights out of it, and then build products and services to cater to that particular cohort of products, cohort of customers. You should Google it. बहुत लंबा आंसर हो जाएगा. But long story short, design thinking, very important skill. In fact, we started Think School to teach design thinking. लेकिन जब मैंने अपने इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज में जाके बोला कि भाई लोग मैं तुमको डिज़ाइन थिंकिंग सिखाऊंगा, तो उन्होंने मेरे को पूछा कि तू कौन है और डिज़ाइन थिंकिंग क्या है ब्रो. So that's where my pitch failed. So, but design thinking, very important. In fact, if I am given a chance to teach one skill to 100 people, in fact, I'm doing this in my own organization, I would only choose design thinking. Just go design thinking aa gaya na, bro. It's an amalgamation of project management, people management, and communication. Project management, people management, and communication. I think it's the most incredible skill anybody can learn. So yeah. Design falls at the center. AI is merely an instrument. It's like communication is important. It doesn't really matter which language you use because language is merely a tool. It's an instrument of communication. So AI is an instrument of efficiency, but if a person does not have a great sense of design, they won't be able to use AI to the best of its abilities. Just design thinking. That's it. उसके बाद तो उसके ऊपर AI लगा दे या कुछ भी लगा दे, doesn't really matter. AI is the AI is a catalyst, bro. That's it. Design thinking is important. It will be relevant today also. It will be relevant 10 years later also. That's it. Okay? Are we done?
Amazing. I think that's all.
One last question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So one final question. Thank you, Ganesh, so much. I'm a big fan of watching your channel.
Thank you
Just
so
wanted
much.
to know, how does it feel to come to this event, 21 by 72?
It feels amazing. It feels amazing because I have my friends over here and I know Rachit very well. I know Pratik very well. So Pratik asked me for this event 3 times and I told him that, bro, the only one hurdle that I have is if at all a guest confirms to come to the podcast on this day of the event, I won't be able to come. He said, bro, hum fix kar lenge, bro, tu aaja. So, but I said, okay, I'll come. And the reason why I like Surat and I like Gujarat is because this is a state and this is a city, more importantly, where entrepreneurship is celebrated. And I love the fact that it's celebrated over here to an extent. And this is practically a festival of entrepreneurship, right? All of us are entrepreneurs. We all have ambitions. And I often tell this to my founder friends that after a certain point, entrepreneurship is a lonely journey. Not a lot of people can resonate with you. Like if I go and tell my mom that I'm trying to scale the company from 300 crores to 400 crores, she'll be like, shut the fuck up and have dinner, right? So if I go and tell my friends who are at their job just cursing their boss, they will never be able to understand our troubles. But we understand, we are hungry for growth, which is why we want to grow. And this is practically a candy land for entrepreneurs because every second, third person that you meet is just like you, which is why I'm having a lot of fun over here. And thank you so much for inviting me, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ganesh. It's an absolute honor to have you again for the second time. And it's a really inspiring session. I think all
Thank
of
you,
us are
guys.
way too inspired and really looking forward to learning from your case studies.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, guys. Means a lot. Thank you.
Seeing you again next year.
Thank you, bro. See you next year.
Thank you so much. That was actually we felt like we are actually watching a podcast show, and it was that deeply shared. Thank you so much for such insights. And I would like Anuj and Rachit to also felicitate Ganesh for being here. And as a deep token of gratitude, we want to express thank you for sharing all the time, efforts, energy, and valuable lessons that you did today. Thank you so much. Give a big round of applause for him, guys. The entire team of IVY Growth Associates.